Welcome, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about forensic careers, and we're going to focus on them in what we call the three circles. These three circles are the Office of the Medical Investigator, or OMI, criminalists, or crime lab, and legal, or law enforcement. Today we're specifically going to be focusing on the Office of the Medical Investigator. So you can see the careers we're going to talk about today are listed on the left. I'll bold them as we go through each. We're going to start with the pathologist. Now, a pathologist is usually the head person in charge of a case within OMI. They study the nature of disease and injury. You can kind of think of them like biological tech support. They're the ones that figured out, okay, what went wrong? Usually we think of pathologists, medical examiner, with deceased victims, but they can also examine living victims in cases of assault of various sorts. Next, we have the anthropologist. That studies human remains, mainly skeletal, to determine characteristics such as age, sex, race, and any injuries and illnesses they may have had. So when you think of anthropology in the forensics context, think bones and skeletons. An odontologist studies teeth. They're a forensic dentist. They use x-rays, dental casts, and photographs to maybe compare bite marks that are on a victim, teeth marks that were left in food at the scene, and commonly to identify a victim from dental records. So they'll subpoena the suspected victim's dentist's office to get their dental records and compare the victim's teeth to those records in order to get an identification. Psychiatrist or psychologist often works with living victims. They can determine the sanity or competence of a person standing trial, and they can also come up with psychological profiles of suspects. Now, whether they're actually at OMI or not varies from state to state, but I went ahead and put them in here because they're somewhat medical. Toxicologist studies effects of chemicals on the body. So they determine how toxins may have contributed to an assault or a death. They can see if a driver was drunk or otherwise intoxicated. And they can see if a person violated a drug use policy for, say, their job. Serologist, when you hear serology, think body fluids. So they do the blood typing, they do the DNA profiling if they have, say, a saliva sample. They do paternity testing. Anything that involves testing of some kind of fluid is serology. So serologists and toxicologists usually work together. So some review questions to write down in your notes. Well, to answer in your notes. Which role would primarily work a case where all you found were skeletal remains? Who might help the person above confirm an identification? And which role would you call if you suspected someone had been poisoned? So think about those, answer them in your notes, kind of get you thinking about the material. We're going to stop here for right now, and in the next video we'll go over the other two circles.